Welcome back to the Eric Crown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy healthy start on this nice Sunday morning when this video will be released. However, I'm actually recording this the day before because I won't be around on Sunday. We're going to be doing some traveling and won't have internet connectivity for a little bit of time. So with that in mind, I wanted to actually do a quick analysis on the higher term timeframes for Ethereum. The reason being, as I turn on my light over here, back in the cave, now back in the light. The reason being is because Ethereum is showing relative strength against Bitcoin. So I do think that it is somewhat leading the market here, and it's just a more interesting long-term chart right now. So let's waste no more time. Let's just jump right on into it. I want to start off this analysis with the monthly for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. This is not Ethereum versus the dollar, but Ethereum versus Bitcoin very specifically. Now, on the monthly, we are observing the lowest levels of monthly volatility ever in the history of Ethereum ever versus Bitcoin. That is very significant because that implies that we're probably going to be seeing a macro move coming out of this macro base here. The macro base essentially between about, 0.55, what is that, 5.5 million Satoshis to the downside versus about 8.5 million Satoshis to the upside, or 8.5 million Satoshis to the upside. Obviously, a closure above or below that range would be the resolution. I can just quickly mark that off. Let me just do that right here. Boom. And to the downside, we got this area right here. Boom. Nice, lovely. And a few things of interest within the context of this current formation going on. Now, I do expect that it will continue to trade a bit more sideways here. Might even come back to the bottom side of this range yet again. But ultimately, this does appear to be a more bullish consolidation than not for a few reasons. First and foremost, monthly RSI is very, very close to the edge of the bullish control zone. And then second, we do see that monthly Joule is actually getting upside curvature right here. Obviously, this is the first month that we've actually even seen it turn that upside color, the light blue or the light cyan color right there. But it just kind of put in perspective, we've seen this a few other times, of which these have been, pretty monumental moves, dare I say, coming out of macro lows over here and then putting in, great continuation moves over here. To measure these out, of which there's only two. I mean, this was a 150% move right there. And over here, from low to high, about 120% move. So that is, at least in my opinion, hopefully significance. So now that we've got that out of the way with Ethereum Bitcoin, let's go look at Ethereum versus the dollar, because I think that there's also some interesting things here going on as well. First and foremost, on the daily, it is already testing its daily 200 simple moving average. So it is, a very common place to pull back. I wouldn't be super concerned if it pulls back here. I would be concerned only if it starts to pull back below $1,500, very specifically $1,500. That's where this one starts to fall apart yet again. But for right now, putting in a consolidation right around the 200 simple is typically a sign that's probably going to break it to the upside. And at that point, very likely looking at a move somewhere around 18 and ultimately somewhere probably just north of 2,000 at around 21 to 2,200 or so. In this case, we do see that on the, the weekly? Yeah, the weekly does have another Joule signal as well coming off the lows, supported by the slower moving oscillator. I think the weekly RSI might have the same falling pizza here, or does it? Let's see. I think it does actually. Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's already resolved to the upside, whereas Bitcoin has not resolved its falling pizza to the upside just yet. But that would imply that Ethereum is kind of leading the market. And, well, I think that that's actually rather accurate. It's a strong one right now as far as the big caps go. Weekly volatility on Ethereum versus the dollar is also, I wouldn't say it's at like all-time lows, but it's certainly in some rather low areas. So we're probably looking at a relatively big move somewhat soon. Let me just pull this out to Coinbase. Oh, this is Coinbase. All right, well, fair enough. We don't really have enough data on the monthly to really populate it here, but we do have enough data to populate the monthly stochastic oscillator. And I thought this was rather interesting as well. The monthly stochastic oscillator is going to have a chance to cross to the upside for the first time from a similar zone as what we saw back on over here for the first time basically since 2019. April 2019, which I'll show you what happened at that point. But in this case, it will officially cross the upside at the end of this month, November, with closure above 1100. So that's kind of the number to beat right now. And if it does cross the upside, well, I would say that's probably going to be a good indication that Ethereum's putting in a macro base here, similar to what you saw back in March 2019. Just because it's a macro base doesn't mean that it can't come back down and retest around the base lows, but ultimately that would be a good long-term signal as everyone kind of knows what happened over the next few years following that, which was rather impressive, dare I say. Very, very fucking impressive, in fact. Weekly stochastic oscillator also is going to be turning up at the end of this week. So tomorrow, Sunday, or maybe today, Sunday, depending upon when you're viewing this, above 1422. And again, this is within the context of some of the lowest volatility on the volatility of stochastic momentum, which we do have more iterations on this one in particular. Coming in from these levels, which have all been macro moves as well. I mean, we're talking about basically the highs of last year, and then also the May dump-ola. So this major move over here, let me actually get it right, and then this major move over here. Now, just because the last two ones were to the downside does not mean this current one will be to the downside. I mean, it certainly could, but volatility is direction neutral, more importantly. And as you can see, the direction of the stochastic oscillator in these particular situations was obviously to the downside. So I thought that was some interesting stuff there for Ethereum. Obviously, that probably bodes well for Bitcoin as well, assuming that Ethereum is leading the market right now. But at the end of the day, you want to see Bitcoin do the same thing here too. But for what it's worth, Ethereum, I do think is a more interesting chart. I think it's a chart that obviously has more risk, but also more potential returns over the long term. And overall, that's really all that it has to be on the higher term time frame. So again, daily, might pull back a little bit here, but as long as above 1500, I generally like it, especially with this daily higher low being put in here at the 1300 level throughout the month of September and October versus the June lows over here. Of course, the big area long term is just getting back above these summer highs. That's your low 2000s. If you can do that, this market might, dare I say, the old flip word, the old fucking flip word. Anyways, that's a good place for me to be leaving off right there. I want to be wishing you well. Again, going to be traveling on today, Sunday. So I'll just have limited connectivity until probably more reasonably Monday, I'd say. Anyways, so with that said, take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.